The badge was new, but the silence was older than time. When Adrian Locke walked into that precinct on his first shift, it wasn't applause that met him. It was paperwork and a sideways glance, a room full of smirks, tension woven into the carpet. This was Eastburn Station, and it didn't welcome outsiders, especially not quiet ones. The air smelled like old sweat, printer ink, and powdered coffee. Sunlight tried to squeeze through warped blinds, casting thin golden bars across the squad room floor like a warning, "Don't stand out." But Adrian Locke didn't come to fit in. His boots were polished like mirrors, his uniform crisp, pressed with precision, like he'd ironed it in silence and resolve. This wasn't his first uniform. Before this, he wore desert camouflage. Ran. Black Ops in places maps refused to name. Military intelligence, 5 years, 2 continents, one memory that never stopped whispering, never walk in loud, walk in watching. So when Captain Rourke picked up his file, flipped it open with a grunt and said, "Fancy stuff, let's see how long you last." Adrian didn't blink. He just nodded. "Understood, sir." No handshake, no intro, no respect. And yet, he stood. Straighter, because standing straight in a crooked room, that's a statement. The captain scanned the room like he was tossing a bone. "You'll be on admin this week. Paper runs, filing, coffee duty." Then came the smirk. "Start with these." He dropped a heavy stack of traffic citations onto Adrian's desk. Like a dare, like an insult wrapped in a chore. Adrian just said, "Yes, sir." He didn't tell them he cracked encrypted comms with nothing but a paperclip and a pad. Didn't tell them he exposed a logistics leak that saved 3 lives. Because this wasn't about proving, it was about building. And Adrian Locke, he built quiet. The station buzzed with its usual routine. Loud cops with louder stories. Footsteps, phone rings, jokes told twice too loud. But Adrian, he was the ghost between desks, sitting near the copier, next to the evidence room, assigned. A desk so forgotten, even the file drawers squeaked like they hadn't been used since 2003. A crooked name tag on a laminated card, Locke, taped on sideways. That was his welcome party. Still, he didn't flinch. He sorted the traffic citations, checked every plate, flagged 3 errors in under an hour. He filed old reports and noticed something nobody else did. Names, dates, patterns. The same officer writing up the same suspect on opposite sides of town at the same time. That didn't sit right. He started marking things. Nothing obvious. Just a highlighter stroke. Here, a sticky note there, numbers underlined in pencil. He called it just getting organized. But what he was really doing? Investigating. By day 2, the silence was colder. Not from the air, but from the way the room looked through him. Everyone was talking, just not to him. Captain Rourke brushed past him that morning. No nod, just a muttered, "Desk duty again. And I take mine black. No sugar." Adrian didn't argue. He brought the coffee. He sorted the files. But behind that calm face, he was mapping inconsistencies like a cartographer of secrets. By 6 p.m., the station cleared. By 7 coup, it was a ghost town. And by 9 coup, Adrian Locke was still at his desk, the glow of a single lamp casting a cone of warm light on a cold case. File no one had touched in years. Missing person. 3 years old, closed. No follow-ups, just dust. The officer listed on the report, the same one whose write-ups Adrian had flagged twice already. He flipped to the final page. A sloppy signature. A mismatched timestamp. Adrian reached for a sticky note. 3 words, all caps. "This doesn't add up." He stuck it on the file and slid it back into his drawer. Didn't report it. Didn't sound alarms. Because Adrian Locke didn't want a fight. He wanted to finish something. That night, the janitor jumped when he saw him still sitting there. Didn't think anyone was left. Adrian smiled. "I'm just getting started." The precinct woke up to sirens and caffeine. Adrian woke up with a theory, and every day that followed, he proved it. He started staying late. cataloguing incident reports, cross-referencing arrest. Logs with surveillance timestamps, noticing the small stuff, like how the same suspect kept getting lost in transport, but no intake files existed, or how certain addresses kept popping up on routine calls, but were never actually written. Adrian didn't ask questions, he collected facts, because when you deal in the shadows, you don't shine a flashlight, you watch. Then came the robbery. Garrick's fine jewelry, downtown, shattered glass, empty cases, no witnesses, no fingerprints, 200,000 euros in stones, gone. And the whole department? On edge. Captain Rourke was red-faced in the briefing room. This is on us. No leads, no footage. Unacceptable. He slammed the file on the desk. I want eyes everywhere. People jumped. Adrian stepped forward. I'd like to review the camera. Footage, sir. Rourke didn't even look up. You'd like a promotion too? Stay in your lane, Locke. Let the real cops work. The room shifted. Snickers. Silence. Adrian nodded once, said nothing, walked out. But that night, he came back, with a key card borrowed from an officer who owed him a favor and didn't ask why. He sat in the media room. Dusty screens, dead silence, and pulled the footage. It was grainy, low angles, static bursts, but Adrian had trained to spot patterns in war zones and wireframes. He watched every frame twice, then again, then in reverse. At 02:13 a.m. he caught it. Not a face, not a hand, a reflection. In the corner of a display case, a silhouette, zoom, enhance. And there, in the glass of a neighboring shop window, 3 digits from a license plate, blurred, but legible. He cross-checked it with a citation he remembered sorting days ago. The same plate, same car, registered to a man recently released with a background in electrical alarms and safes. Nobody connected the dots, because nobody looked. Adrian had been looking since day one. He wrote the name down, circled it, underlined it, twice. He didn't, and tell anyone. He archived the footage, logged out, locked up, and walked out of the precinct under the cold glow of street lamps, thinking only one word: soon. The station was still asleep when Adrian returned. No alarms, no briefing buzz, no sideways glances, just stillness. Perfect for truth to breathe. He carried a folder, thick, precise, color-coded tabs and 2 sticky notes tucked inside the cover. He brought coffee too, because habit masks intention. The bulletin board still had the jewelry heist pinned across it, but only in fragments. A blurry screen grab, 2 shaky sketches, and a map with nothing but scribbled guesses. Adrian looked at it like a puzzle missing its box. Then, without asking, he pulled everything down. He cleared the board, laid out the timeline, overlaid addresses, cross-checked citations, pinned a list of parolees, then marked the license plate from the reflection he had caught at 2:13 a.m. He connected it to a known associate in a pawn shop 2 towns over. A diamond bracelet logged under a fake name, but with a serial number that matched the boutique's inventory. The pins, the thread, the evidence. By the time the sun caught the blinds and sliced across the room, the board was reborn. Not a mess, a map, and at the center of it all, one name, the man with the car, the one no one had questioned, the one Captain Rourke vouched for years ago when he said the guy was just trying to make things right. Adrian stepped back, hands at his sides, eyes calm. Then the squad room door opened. Detective Anna Mickelson walked in first. Late 40s, sharp, used to leading. She stopped dead in her tracks. What the? She moved closer. Her eyes scanned the board, finger tapped a photo, then the bracelet. Where'd you get this? Evidence logs, Adrian said softly. She kept reading. Did you? Yes. He handed her the file. She read the top sheet, then the second. By page 3, she was sitting down. Detective Hall, mid-30s, leaned in next. He frowned, scanned the material, then muttered, This is tight." The door slammed open. Boots, clipboard. Captain Rourke entered, mid-conversation. "With someone. until he caught the quiet, until he saw the whole squad staring at a board that didn't exist last night, until he followed the red thread to the name at the center of it all, and froze. Rourke moved closer, his voice low. "Who put this together?" Silence. Then Adrian stepped forward. "I did, sir." Rourke stared long. The room held its breath, and then he gave a single nod. "Get this prepped for the DA." He turned back, paused, then over his shoulder. "Locke, you're not on desk duty anymore." Whispers rippled. Mickelson smirked. Hall raised both eyebrows. Someone clapped, softly. Adrian didn't react. No smile, no victory lap. He just turned back to the board and began adjusting the pins. Because he hadn't done it for praise. He hadn't done it for a seat. He had built the whole damn table. The precinct started shifting, minute by minute. Not overnight, but undeniably. The men who didn't look at him before, now they asked about timelines. Now they brought him reports. They stopped calling him admin, started calling him Locke. Later that day, the captain gathered everyone. Briefing. Room Rourke at the podium. He went through patrol schedules, citations, routine noise. Then he paused. "There's one last thing," he said. The room went still. "The Garrick case is closed, cleaned up, solid." He looked at the back row. It was Officer Locke's lead. A few heads turned. Murmurs, then quiet. He saw what the rest of us missed. And just like that, the rookie became the one who saw. Adrian stayed after briefing, filing a few things, organizing the board. Detective Mickelson approached. "You've got eyes, Locke." He nodded. "I like patterns." She handed him a new folder. "Then you'll love this. It's cold. Been sitting for a year. The Maywell file. A missing person case with nothing but loose ends. It's yours now." Outside, the news van rolled in. The story had gotten out. Rookie officer cracks, 200K case with reflection clue. They wanted a quote. Adrian gave them one. Sometimes the best evidence isn't loud. It's overlooked. The headline read, "The quiet cop with the sharpest eyes in the room." Back inside, Rourke stood at the board, alone, reading the thread, following the logic, trying to figure out when he stopped seeing and Adrian started. Adrian passed behind him. Rourke turned. "You know, maybe I was wrong about you." Adrian stopped, met his eyes. "With all due respect, Captain, you never really knew me to begin with." Rourke said nothing, didn't argue, just nodded and let him pass. Adrian walked down the hallway. Same walls, same floors. But now, the glances came with respect. The nods carried weight. Not because they were ordered, because they'd watched him outthink the room, and now they couldn't look away. The door closed behind him. The streetlight hit his badge just right. He adjusted it once, tucked the Maywell file under his arm, and walked forward. Not as the rookie, not as the quiet one, but as the officer they'd finally seen, the one they'd never underestimate again. The Maywell file sat heavy in Adrian's hand, not by weight, by what wasn't in it. No suspects, no witnesses, no real leads, just a name, Rachel Maywell. Age 28. Last seen leaving a downtown pharmacy, disappeared without a sound. One officer filed the report, no follow-up, no activity, closed by default, filed away. But Adrian Locke didn't believe in vanishing acts. He started like he always did, with the quiet, reading every line, twice, every date, every cross-reference. Rachel Maywell had filed 2 complaints against someone at the station before she went missing. The officer, Detective Ellis Donahue, decorated, connected, known for clean reports and quiet power. Adrian flagged the name, red. Sticky note, black ink, conflict. He pulled body cam logs, checked timestamps, accessed patrol logs. Ellis Donahue had signed in late the night Rachel disappeared and signed out early. But here's what didn't match. His cruiser GPS had stopped transmitting for 47 minutes between 10:41 and 11:28 p.m. Station records blamed it on a tech issue. Adrian didn't buy it. He ran Rachel's name through traffic cam footage near the pharmacy that night, and there she was, crossing the street at 10:38, wearing a red coat. Carrying a bag, behind her a black unmarked cruiser. He zoomed in. The partial plate matched Donahue's issued vehicle. Still, it wasn't proof. Not yet. Just pieces. So he hunted more. He went through complaint archives, Rachel's voice on record. Shaky but clear, he threatened to make her regret it if she didn't withdraw her statement. Filed, ignored, closed, but now opened. Adrian didn't go public, didn't go to Rourke, didn't wave it like a flag. He built the board, threaded. Photos, timelines, voice transcripts. Rachel's medical history. She'd been in therapy for trauma. Last session was a day before her disappearance. The notes from her therapist. Client expressed fear of retaliation. Named a specific officer. Feels unsafe walking home. The therapist had tried to report it. No callback. No follow-through. Adrian added the note. Tied the string. Mickelson noticed the board first. She stood in front of it for a full minute, then turned. You're chasing ghosts. I'm chasing the one that left footprints. By now, Adrian had a nickname in the precinct, the Architect, because every case he touched, he rebuilt from the studs. He pulled up vehicle maintenance logs. Found the cruiser Donahue used that night was taken in for detailing 2 days later. That wasn't protocol. He got the receipt. Found the detailing shop. Asked for security cam footage. They still had it. And on that footage, Donahue pacing near. The shop door smoking, looking nervous. He went deeper, requested cell tower pings. Mapped Donahue's phone to a dead zone along the old canal, near a condemned warehouse just 10 minutes from Rachel's last location. He drove out there alone, walked through rusted steel and broken glass, and in the corner, half buried beneath debris, he found it, a red coat. He called it in. Anonymous tip, let forensics take it. Let them process it, because his name didn't need to be on the discovery. His name would be on the truth. 2 days later, the results came back. Blood on the coat. DNA matched Rachel. The cold case wasn't cold anymore, it was burning. Captain Rourke summoned Adrian. You've been working this off the books. Adrian nodded. Yes, sir. You crossed internal lines. Yes, sir. You went through sealed logs. Yes, sir. Rourke stared, then said, What else have you found? Adrian handed over a folder. Everything. Chronological. Color-coded. Silence. Stretched as Rourke flipped through. He stopped on the therapist's note, then on the photo of Donahue at the detailing shop, then on the board schematic. He closed the folder. Internal Affairs is going to hate this. Adrian didn't respond. He wasn't fishing for praise. He just watched the truth land where it was supposed to. The next morning, Detective Donahue was placed on leave. By afternoon, the DA's office issued a warrant. By sunset, every paper in the city ran the headline, Rookie Officer Reopens Cold Case. Connects fellow detective to missing woman. Rourke didn't hide behind doors. He called a press conference. Officer Locke's work on the Maywell case is not just commendable. It's a reminder of what happens when someone refuses to let silence win. Adrian didn't attend the conference. He stayed at the station at the board, cleaning it, archiving it, adding one final post-it, file closed, truth found. Mickelson brought him coffee. You just cracked a case that IA buried 2 years ago. Adrian sipped. Maybe they didn't. Look hard enough. Rourke stopped him that afternoon. You've got instincts. Not just for data, for people. Adrian nodded. I listen. Rourke handed him a plain envelope. Inside, an offer. Detective promotion track. Effective immediately. Adrian looked up. I didn't do this to rise. I know, Rourke said. But people who rise without trying, those are the ones who lead right. That night, Adrian stayed late again. No board, no tape, just notes. He stared at Rachel's name one last time, whispered to himself, you weren't forgotten, then turned off the lamp and walked into the night with nothing but his badge and a name they'd all remember now. 3 days after Donahue's arrest, the precinct felt like a pressure valve had burst. The laughter was quieter. The whispers were louder. Eyes turned when Adrian walked in. But not with pity anymore. Not with doubt. With weight. The kind that follows you when people start realizing you're not temporary. You're inevitable. Internal affairs set up camp. Meetings, reviews, paper trails reopened. Everyone tightened up. Everyone watched their backs. But Adrian, he was watching the walls, because systems don't just fail in noise. They fail in silence, and silence had been the loudest thing in Eastburn Station for years. That week, Adrian was officially reassigned. Detective Division, cold case team, but really, they just put him where the real stories lived. In the files nobody wanted to touch. His first assignment, the Arnett Ledger leak. 6 years old, a whistleblower's report about precinct money going places it wasn't supposed to. The file had been sealed, the whistleblower transferred, and 2 months later the report disappeared. Adrian cracked it in 4 nights. He tracked transfers between sub-accounts, flagged 3 line items under vehicle maintenance that were actually payouts to a private security firm run by a former officer who had ties to Captain Rourke's brother-in-law. It wasn't illegal, but it smelled. He didn't accuse, didn't publish, just passed the findings quietly to the city's Financial Oversight Board with documentation that couldn't be ignored. 2 weeks later, the precinct's budget was frozen, pending a full audit. Rourke. He called him in. His voice was tight. "You're not playing small anymore." Adrian met his eyes. "I never was." Rourke looked tired. "This isn't just about cases now, is it?" "No," Adrian said. "It's about why the cases keep coming back cold." And then he did something no one expected. He handed Rourke a list. Policy changes, evidence tracking, report verification protocols, anonymous review systems. "Adopt this," Adrian said, "or everything I find will end up where you can't spin it." Rourke leaned back. "You threatening me?" "No," Adrian said calmly. "I'm giving you a chance to do what's right before someone else forces you to." Rourke didn't speak, just stared. Then, "You know what makes you dangerous, Locke? You don't need permission." Word spread that the rookie had made the captain flinch, that the station was shifting, that accountability now had a first name, Adrian, and then the call came. Not local, not city, federal. The Justice Department had been watching. Not just Eastburn, but half a dozen precincts across the country with the same symptoms. Quiet internal corruption, ghosted complaints, missing case data officers shuffled without discipline. They wanted Adrian to speak, not testify, train. They called it the Locke Protocol, built on how he'd audited his own department with nothing but persistence and a printer. He declined the first invite. Too fast. Too soon. He wasn't done yet. Instead, he created something. Smaller, but stronger. The Grey Line Project. Named for the line between silence and truth that most departments like to hide behind. It wasn't flashy, just a digital hub for whistleblowers. Data reviewers, ex-cops with regret, and community investigators willing to share what no one else would look at. And it grew. Fast. A year later, the boardroom was full. Not of brass, of people, civilians, analysts, survivors of injustice who finally had tools. Adrian Locke never took a headline, never gave a quote after Donahue, but his name moved through cities like quiet thunder. He still worked cases, still walked into that same precinct. But now, when he passed the bulletin board, it wasn't covered in gossip, it was covered in maps, timelines, leads, and in the top corner, a small gold pin. Truth lives here. Nobody knew who put it up, but nobody took it down. Then came the day that felt like a bookend. Captain Rourke retired. No big speech. No send-off party, just a box of things and a long stare at his old office. Adrian walked in as he packed the last file. Rourke turned. "Well," he said, "you outlive me here." Adrian shrugged. You knew it was coming. Rourke chuckled softly, then paused. You ever wonder how you pulled it off? No shouting, no showboating. Adrian nodded. Because I wasn't trying to be right. I was trying to be useful. Rourke extended a hand. Adrian took it, just for a moment. Then he left him to the boxes. A new captain came in. Young, female, reform-minded. First day on the job, she asked Adrian to walk the squad floor with her. He said yes, not because she asked, because she listened. As they passed the rows of desks, one of the rookies stood up fast, nervous, saluting out of habit. Detective Locke, she stammered. I read your cold case reports in training. We call them Locke layers. Adrian paused, then smiled. Keep reading. The stories don't get easier, but the patterns always tell the truth. That afternoon he cleared his board, pushed the old cases to archive, made room for new ones, then pulled out a single file, a fresh case, no press, no pressure, just a missing kid whose name hadn't hit the news yet. And that was where Adrian Locke belonged. Not behind the desk, not in front of cameras, but here, in the silence. Where the system thinks no one's watching, because now someone always is.